Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Fluellen. I am husband to Dr. Quiana Fluellen, former NFL player of 8 years. And I'm telling you my story about my career-ending injuries. And so it goes back to 2012. I was a strapping young 27-year-old young man in the NFL in the prime of his career, and about to get signed by a couple different teams. I was a free agent at the time, and man, I was 3 days before I had a visit with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they had talked about they were going to give me some good money, and they're going to sign me because they really wanted me. And then 3 days before I got there, my knee swelled up, and it swelled up, right? And I had no idea why. I was just doing some regular routine training, and man, my knee was on fire, right? And so what ended up happening is when I got there to the Cincinnati, they looked at my knee and they were like, "What happened?" And I said, "I don't know." So they gave me an MRI, and then as soon as they gave me the MRI, man, they said, "No, we're not gonna sign you. Sorry." So anyway, well, as soon as I got left from Cincinnati, the St. Louis Rams called and they said, "Hey, we have something." My agent was like, "Hey, we got something good here too. I don't know what happened with Cincinnati," and I was like, "I don't either." And he said, "Don't worry about it, man. I think we got something good with St. Louis." So anyway, go to St. Louis, and the same thing, had a physical there. They look at me and they're like, "Hey, man, what's up with your knee?" And I was like, "Hey, I don't know." And they said, "Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. You have a knee of a 70-year-old man." And I'm like, and then, this is, I went from working out and being fine 4 days ago to having a knee of a 70-year-old man. Like, that right there was, man, that was traumatizing. And so anyway, so of course they didn't sign me. And so thank God Detroit signed me back without a physical because I had just played there. So they didn't even give me a physical. So that was, so thank God for that. So anyway, so as I'm going through 2012, going into training camp, man, like my left knee was just, oh my goodness, was hurting every single day. And then my right knee started hurting because I was compensating, man. I remember in the mornings I would have to crawl to the bathroom just to use, like, I could not put any pressure on any of my knees. Like, I've always been a really, really strong, been able to squat a lot of weights, 600 plus pounds, and I couldn't even squat like 185 pounds. Like seriously, I was done. I remember I went to see my doctor. I'm from Cartersville, Georgia. I went to see my doctor back in Cartersville, and he was like, "Hey, man, look, your knees, man, they're shot, man. You need to retire." Like, he straight up said, like, you need to think about your long-term health right now. Like, you have knees of a 70-year-old man and you're 27 years old. Like, you need to think about this. And so, that hurt. And so anyway, so I got cut from the Lions after training camp. And then, my wife was like, "Hey, before you hang it up, like, let me check you out." And so, like, I'm not going to say that I went and got some stem cell stuff done. But I'm telling you, honestly, it didn't really help that much. Like, it didn't really do much of anything. I didn't really notice a big difference. But I'll tell you, my wife was like, "Man, your hips are off. You walk kind of funny. Like, let me just develop this stretching program for you, and do some dry needling on you, and see just what we can go from here. Like, don't just quit, right?" And I didn't want to quit. And even though that the doctor said what he said, I'm just I'm one of those people, like, I just don't believe it until it's over with. You know what I mean? And so anyway, man, I started doing these stretches every day, and I still do them, and I'll never forget, man. Now, I ain't gonna lie, it took me about 2 months of solid stretching every single day. But I just remember the day, like, and I was getting 70, 80 cc's of fluid drain from my knees every practice. So I remember, like, the Lions that I'm signing me back, thank God they signed me back. And then I remember my coach was like, "Hey, what did you do?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I remember how bad your knees used to be. And you're sitting here running around like they don't bother you. Like, what did you, like, are you just fooling us? Or did you really do something?" I was like, "Man, I just been stretching every day." Like, my wife developed this stretching program. It was my hips and my glutes were all off and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, "Man, whatever you're doing, man, I'm thankful that you did it. Thank your wife too." And I did. I thanked her by marrying her. She wasn't my wife at the time. She was a girlfriend. I married that girl. So anyway, so all I'm saying is, I had a career-ending injury, and there's certain things I couldn't do. But it took, the wisdom of Dr. Quiana Fluellen, Dr. Q, to really see beyond what the fruit of the issue was and actually see the root. So I'm saying, like, if you're there, I know what it feels like. If you're there, you feel like, man, I can't do this anymore. Like, if you at the point of feeling like you have to have surgery, and then you have to have surgery, and then you have to do the recovery, and then hopefully the surgery goes well, I'm saying just try Dr. Q. Try the dry needling. Get one of her custom-made stretching programs. Like that stretching program is custom-made for Dre. It's custom-made for me. And so that's all I'm saying is just try it out and then just try and see. And that's all I have to say. So Dr. Q, she's the absolute best. I am saying that because she's my wife, but I'm also saying that because she's the best therapist that I've ever had. All right? So thank y'all. And this is just my story. Peace.